All right, colored pens, please. Today's warm-up is a review of a few different ideas that we've studied over the course of the year. Some recent, some not so recent. Start with number one. What'd you get as the probability that the identification number would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Got 1, 2, 3 confident people, 4 confident people. Good, we'll start. Michael, Isabella, Gary, and Ezekiel. What'd you get? Okay.
1 out of 90,000.
Okay.
I got 1 out of 6,400.
3 different answers. Go ahead.
I got
1 out of 90,000. So that's what Isabella said. Caesar? And that's what you had said, correct? So it kind of split room. Anyone want to chime in with one of those or a different answer? Jed Lee and then Joella? 1 out of 9,000? Okay, so we seem to have more support for 1 out of 3,125. The correct answer is 1 out of 90,000. 1 out of 90,000. That was a tough question, and we are going to talk about how that was done. Very impressive for the students who got that right. Numbers 2 and 3. Review equations from long ago. Let's see how he did. We'll start with Valerie, Yadesh, and then Alex. Okay? You two agree on that one. 3 people agree on number 2. The correct answer is x equals negative 11. Very impressive. It's going back a long ways. Number 3, what'd you get? We'll start with Chanel, and then we'll go to Chris, and then we'll go to Kivan. Okay? All of you agree that R is 90? R is 90. Number 4, very difficult question. We've seen, I think, 1 or 2 of these over the course of the entire year, and it was a long time ago. Very difficult question. So, what'd you get? Start with Joe Ali, Jed Lee, Alex, and then back to Chanel. Okay. I lost my order. Jim. Why? So you know already that yours doesn't add up to 45? Okay. That's an honest mistake. Okay. Again, I lost my order. I know Chanel was in there, and I feel like I'm skipping somebody. Gary, you read? No? Okay. Chanel, go ahead. Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Isabel. So we seem to kind of agree on that, and here is the results. Now, you were asked to write and solve an equation. So I was asking you to write an equation. Very difficult equation to write. So my students who got it right, not sure if you did it by doing an equation or if you did it by guess and check. Either way, I'm impressed. Okay? And we're going to get back to that one in a couple of minutes. So let's go back to number 1, please. And give me a thumbs up if you got number 1 correct. Good. Put your thumbs down. Now, I walked around and I was specifically looking at what students were doing for number 1. And most of you had the right approach, but you misunderstood the question. When you're forming a number, what are the possibilities for each digit? For example, for your Florida ID number, your student ID, I want you to think of the first number in that ID, just your own. Think of the first number. What is the first number? Someone raise their hand. Oh, you know what? That's a mistake. But go ahead. Paige, what's the first number? A 0. Okay. Everyone's a 0. What's the second number? Someone tell me the second number in yours. Be honest.
6.
6. Anyone different than 6? Okay. So, what are all the possibilities, though, for that position? Is 6 the only possibility? Is there just one choice for that position? Is that why everyone is the same? Isabella?
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's right. So in this district, or in this area, yours all begin with 0, 6, but in a different area in Florida, it will begin differently. And so there are actually all the possibilities, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. How many possibilities is that? You figured it out. How many possibilities is that? 10. That's 10 possibilities. So a whole bunch of you put 5, because I tricked you. Because you saw this, and you saw this, and you thought 5 was the number of possibilities. But here's what we did. Here's the part that you guys did very well on. A 5-digit number means there's going to be 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each digit gets its own line. It's a big multiplication problem, so we're multiplying each together. So Isabella just helped us figure out that there's 10 possibilities in each position. There's 10 possibilities here, 10 possibilities here, 10 here, 10 here, and 10 here. But there's something different about this question. One of those is going to change, and there's a reason why. What's the detail in the question that makes us change something? Caesar? Where? In the first digit, you cannot have a 0. So what must this change to? Celine? I'm sorry? 9. Because we eliminated one possibility, this must now change to a 9. So this is not going to be a 10. That's going to be a 9. Now when we multiply this out, we get 90,000. That's the number of different combinations of identification numbers we will have. But that's not what I asked you for. I then went ahead and asked you for the probability that this exact combination would come up. And so that's why we end up with 1 out of 90,000. Comments, questions, and concerns on number 1? Like I said, there's a lot of positive things because you guys knew to set up lines for each position. You just misunderstood how many possibilities there were. Okay, let's chunk number 2 and 3 together. I want to look at these together. Give me a thumbs up if you got both of those questions right. Thumbs up if you got both of them right. Good, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Very nice. Put your thumbs down. Okay? So, let's go to number 4. And here's where writing down your pieces of information to identify some things is important. And what we want to do is we want to define the characters. We want to define Kevin. We want to define Micah. Thanks, man. And we want to define Cheryl. And you have to read. This is a reading issue. Kevin has P, so we're given Kevin. Kevin is P. Micah has 1 more than Kevin. How do I represent 1 more than something? Do you know? Plus 1. That's right. P plus 1. So to be quite honest, I don't feel like you should have had any trouble with those 2. The next one was a little bit harder. Then it says, Cheryl has 1 more than Micah. So if Micah is P plus 1, then Cheryl would have to be P plus 1, and what would I have to add for Cheryl? Cheryl has 1 more than Micah, so what do I have to add in for Cheryl? Gary? Yeah, add another 1. P plus 1 plus 1. What's another way to say plus 1 plus 1? Michaela? Plus 2. So this is Kevin. This is Micah. And that's Cheryl. Now solve the equation. P plus P plus P is 3P. 1 plus 2 is 3. How many steps will it take to solve that? How many steps? Ezekiel? 2 steps. It's a 2-step equation. Okay? So this leads us to this, which leads us to this, and when we solve it, we get P equals 14. That tells us, Kevin, P equals 14, but now I asked you to tell me the number of people sponsoring each person. So Kevin is 14, Micah's 1 more than that, 15, Cheryl's 2 more than that, that's 16. Okay? Comments, questions, concerns? No comments, questions, or concerns? Good, we're doing well so far. Draw a line across your paper. Today, we're going to shift gears from chapter 6 and start focusing on the idea of a percent, but not just how to write a percent, but how to actually use a percent or find one. There are a whole bunch of different ways to do it. I am going to introduce one way, and one of your goals is going to be to try and find shortcuts along the way to help yourself. This is a very advanced class in my room right now. The students in this class should be able to find some easier ways to work through some of the questions we're going to work on. So, first I'm going to give you a model, then I'm going to show you the types of questions I'm talking about, and then we're going to put it all together. So, you can use a proportion to work with percents, but the proportion is set up the same way every time. So, set up an empty proportion, but you automatically put a 100 in the denominator on the right-hand side. And so what's going to happen is the right-hand ratio, this whole side right here, is going to represent the percent. Percent means out of 100. That's why we have a 100 here. That's what percent means. So what we will do is, whatever the percent is, we'll put the number on top here. Notice that I have this big flashy star that says find this first. You'll understand why in a couple minutes. Then the other two pieces of information seem somewhat cryptic, meaning it's like, what is he talking about? What's of? What's is? Well, I'm going to explain what it is, but I can't explain it until I show you what we're talking about. But the second thing you're going to find is the of. And the of goes in this position. The is goes in this position. And once you have everything filled in, you solve the proportion and you can find your missing piece of information. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about scenarios, like this. 13 is 26% of what number? Thirteen is 26% of what number? So, we're going to start out with the proportion method, and as you work through today's lesson, if you discover something that you would call a shortcut, feel free to use it moving forward. So, the proportion. I have the blank proportion set up already. First thing we do is we automatically put a 100 right there. That's automatic. You don't have to think about it. You just do it. Then you look for the percent. So we want, if possible, to find what goes here. And it's very simple, and there's a reason why I'm telling you to do it first. It's easy to find. You look in the question and find the number that has the percent symbol or the word percent after it. And so you can see right there, 26%. Now we're going to write that number here, but we're not going to put the symbol because this here is taking place of the symbol. So we're going to put the 26 right there. 26 over 100 is the same thing as 26%. Are there any questions so far on how we're putting these pieces of information in? The second thing I've asked you to find is called the of. The of is the piece of information that comes immediately after the word of. So find the word of. 13 is 26% of. So what comes immediately after the word of? Gary? Good. So what do I put for that? Keon? That's right. Since it's something missing, we put a variable. We don't know what it is, but an x or an n, whatever variable, it doesn't really matter. Here's the wonderful thing. Your thought process is done. Now put in the only number left. There's only one number left. What's the only number left all over that we haven't used yet, Yadesh? 13. 13 is the is. And the 13 is going to go here. Now we have the proportion set up. You can either use a shortcut, you can cross product, you can do whatever you want to solve it. I'm not going to solve it right now because right now I'm just worried about setting it up. Any questions so far? So that's one possible scenario. Let's look at another one. $21 is what percent of 40? So again, 100 is automatic. Now do the percent first. So what's going to go in the top right? What's going to go in the top right? That's what we want to find first. Gloria? Very good. A variable. Because there is no number with the word percent. It says what percent. That's our variable. Now find the of. What's the of? Yeah, the of is 40 because the 40 comes immediately after the word of. Now there's only one number left that we haven't used. What's the only number that we haven't used? Briante? That's right. Now, use a shortcut, use cross product, whatever you want to do to solve it. We're not going to solve it right this moment. Right now we're just worried about setting it up. Comments, questions, concerns? Good, we're doing very well. What number is 12% of 350? So again, automatic 100 if we're dealing with a percent. Fill in pieces of information. Someone raised their hand. Give me something to fill in and tell me where it goes. Valerie. Good. We don't put the percent symbol because this is taking the place of the percent symbol. Excellent job. Give me another piece of information to put in and tell me where it goes. Isabella.
The variable can go on the top.
Top left, top right, bottom left. Where does it go?
Left.
Top left. Variable goes here. Good. So something's missing? What's missing? Ezekiel? 350. 350 goes in the bottom left. Again, use shortcuts, use anything, any method you have for solving the proportion to find the answer. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, so now that we've got the idea of setting it up, let's go through a couple of examples where we actually work through the whole thing. And then we're going to check, make sure we're understanding, and then we're going to get to the real work, which is a few real world scenarios. So, what number is 46% of 200? Already set up. So we've already seen this 3 times. We should be on our way to knowing what goes where. Someone give me a piece of information, tell me where it goes. Keep up. 200 goes in the bottom left. Give me something else. Page? 46 goes in the top right. I've got one more thing to fill in. What should I put? Selena?
Variable in the top left.
Very good. So now we do want to solve the proportion. We can either do cross products or we could use a shortcut, whatever you want to do. Anyone want to make a good decision for us to help us out? Gloria. Whatever you want to do. Tell me whatever you want.
I already did it, but what I did 46 divided by 100, and then that came out to 0.46 and 200.
Good. So you basically solved the proportion. You just did it out of order, and that works perfectly. Very good. Anyone see something else we can do? Chris? That's right. There's a connection here. There's a factor being used right here. Times 2. So if you multiply the top times 2, then you can easily find the answer as well. Either way, Gloria, doesn't really matter. So, Gloria, what was the answer? 92. So x equals 92. So what we have figured out is 46% of 200 is 92. Comments, questions, concerns? There's even more shortcuts that you can get here. So if you already know of one or you start discovering one, test it out and see if you can use it for the future. Any comments, questions? Okay? $26 is what percent of 32? So, what goes where? My quiet students stay on your toes because I'm going to ask you to put some pieces of information in. Go ahead, Chanel, give me something. Top right. Because it says what percent. We don't know it. That's a variable. What else, Udesh? 26 goes in the top left. You sure? Okay. Not the order I would have done it, but okay. And Janae, what's the only thing missing? Where does it go? Do you agree that that's where it's supposed to go? It was the only number left, but are we certain that that's where it's going to go? Yeah, you're sure? What's the bottom left position called in my world? What's it called, Diddley? It's called the of. Very good. So we can solve this using a shortcut. We can do whatever we want. Do cross product. 32x equals 2600. What do we get as a result? Isabel? 81.25. Here's one little detail that some of you guys got to make sure you don't make a mistake on. In this case, it's 81.25% because we were looking for a percent. If you don't put the percent symbol in your answer, then unfortunately it is wrong. There is a tremendous difference between 81 and 81%. They're two totally different things. Okay? That's a detail that you got to watch out for. Comments, questions, concerns on what we've done so far? I had another question, but I feel like we're moving along really well. We've actually seen 5 already. So let's test out and see how we're doing on our own. You can see that I've distributed boards. So we're going to be using the boards today. Everyone take the board and put it on top of your work. You need a dry erase marker, of course. And I will give you now. Does anyone need a dry erase marker? Anyone else? All right. Anybody else? My students who borrowed, make sure you return when we're done. Now, you do not have to write checkpoint on the board. The board is for you to write as big as possible, using the space as wisely as possible. There are 2 questions today. So what I'm going to ask you to do, or for this checkpoint, you're going to divide your board in half, so draw a line right down the middle. The left side is going to be A, and the right side is going to be B. You do not have to copy the question, but you need to demonstrate some work, effort, whatever you're going to do. If you have already discovered a shortcut for what we're doing, use it and demonstrate your shortcut here. Okay? Any questions or concerns? Okay, so here are the 2 questions. You got 2 questions. Oops, excuse me. You got 2 questions. You got, say, 3 minutes just because we're using the boards. Remember, you're trying to write as big as possible so that it's easy for me to see. That's reasonable. Okay, so we haven't used these in a couple of weeks. So remember, you're going to form a staircase. Front people, turn your boards around, put them right on your desk, and everyone behind, you're going to raise up your boards either a little bit, moderate, or all the way up so that I can see everybody's. Okay, put your boards down and turn them around so that they're facing you. Who's escaped? So by my count, about 14 people. So it's about 2/3 of my class got. You shouldn't be erasing anything. You shouldn't be doing anything yet. We're not done. So about 2/3 of my class got both of them right. Most of my class got at least one of them right. So let's talk about the correct answers first. Number 1, what did you get? What'd you get? Got a lot of confident people, that's good. We'll start with Michael, and then Caesar, then Michaela. What'd you get? 60%. Okay. 6%? 60%, so you agree with Michael. The correct answer is 60%. Now, I did notice that most of you put the percent symbol, but a few of you did not. Now, you're just learning, so it's not the most horrible thing, but you cannot get full credit moving forward. You have to pay attention to what was being asked. You were asked for a percent, you must put the percent symbol. Okay? Part B, what did you get? It was a little bit more unusual. We'll start with Selena, Isabella, Joali. What'd you get? Okay? Okay? Okay, so we kind of have a little bit of disagreement. I got, what, 3 different answers? Valerie and then Gary. What'd you get? Okay. Okay, so I rounded it off. It's approximately 48. It was about 48.15, I think, is what it came out to when you rounded it. If you have anything approximately 48, go ahead and mark it correct. Yeah. Now, I did see that I think 1 or 2 people put a percent symbol here. And unfortunately, that would be incorrect because you were not asked for a percent. So you actually have to pay attention to what you are being asked for. To put it another way, the CEO saw your presentation, didn't understand it, and fired you from your job. Because you put in a detail that didn't make any sense to him. So you have to watch those details, okay? So, any comments, questions, concerns on either of these? Like I said, 14 out of 20, 21 people, pretty good rate for both questions correct. Does anyone have any questions on either of them? Okay, part B, we're going to focus on for a moment. So since I am introducing a proportion method, let's see if we got it set up correctly. Could someone give me one piece of information for the proportion to set it up? One piece of information. Valerie? Okay, and I love the word that you used. The numerator for the left side is going to be 39. That was a mistake that some people made. You put the 39 in the wrong place. Okay? But what else? What else gets filled in? Yadesh? Bottom left. Very good. So I got one piece of information missing. Ezekiel? 81 in the top right. Pretty difficult to find a shortcut per se, but you can just do cross product, solve the equation, you get 48.14 something. Comments, questions, concerns? Okay, very good. Now, paper towel, erase your board, put it underneath your binder or lean it against the leg of your chair, and now we're going to apply the idea to a real-world scenario. For example 2, you do not need the text of the question. Of course, you need to read it, but you don't have to copy it. You need the table of information. I have a computer that helps me make perfect tables. Yours, of course, doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so we have 145 donors blood drive. And the table outlines their blood types, but broken down by percent. So let's pause for a second. Give me a thumbs up if you know what the phrase blood type refers to. Okay. Never explored that with Ms. Mitchell or any other science teacher, any other teacher? Okay. So the blood that flows through your body has a type, and this is a system that was designed by some brilliant scientist somewhere at some point. And there's 4 different blood types: O, A, B, and AB. And at some point in your life, you're going to actually need to know what your blood type is. Your parent probably knows what your blood type is. Need a chair. Okay, but here's the thing. If you ever get hurt seriously and you need a blood transfusion, meaning you need blood from somebody else to help support your own system, your blood type has to match. So you cannot get blood type B if your blood type is blood type A. They have to match. Okay? Now I'm simplifying the scenario quite a bit. It's actually very complex, and there's actually a few more details that are involved. But I just wanted to give you the background on what was going on. So what happens is people, because they are kind and are giving, will go to a blood drive and have blood taken, and they give their blood to hospitals and facilities that are trying to help save people's lives. If someone gets in a car accident and loses a lot of blood, they need a blood transfusion. Where does that blood come from? It has to come from somewhere. So this is something that Good Samaritans do as adults. And when you get to high school, I think you'll be allowed to give blood. I'm not sure if you have to be 18. I'm guessing you do. But they might have a blood drive at your high school, and that might be the first time you give blood. Okay? And it's something very good to do. Okay? So here is data from a recent blood drive. And there was 145 donors. The information that we're given is breaking down the blood type by the percent of the 145 donors. So the first question is, how many donors had blood type B? So if we look in the table, we are given that there's 11% of the people had blood type B. So here's what we need to be able to do. We need to be able to translate this scenario so that it either sounds like or looks like something like this. Because now we know how to translate this into this, we need to be able to get from here into a single statement that we can then translate into math. Okay? So, let's start off. What is really being asked? We're being asked for the number of donors that had blood type B. So let me start. I'm going to start off the statement, and you guys are going to help me fill it in word by word. Okay? What number? Can someone give me the next word that would make sense to fill in? And if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, Just pay attention to your classmates and what they're volunteering, and as we fill in things, you might start to understand. Think about we've done 7 already. Think about the 7 we've done. What would make sense to come next? Some hesitant hands, but then some more confidence. Kivan?
What number is?
Stop. What number is? What do you think comes next? Jedli?
11%.
Very, very good. That was the hard part. What number is 11%? What's going to come next? Chanel? Stop. Of. And now she kind of gave it away, but Paige, what's the last part? 145. And so once we see it like this, it's much easier to digest. It's much easier to kind of go to the math part of it now. So what number is 11% of 145? At this point, if you figured out a shortcut or you know of a shortcut, you can feel free to use it. I'm teaching the proportion method today, so I'm going to stick with that. So we set up an empty proportion with the automatic 100, and now we fill in the information. It should be getting easier and easier to tell where things go. Alex, give me one piece of information and where it goes.
The 145 goes to the bottom left.
Very good. Bottom left, 145. Give me another piece of information. Another piece of information. Selena?
11% goes to the top.
Okay. But remember that, yes, it's 11%, but this denominator is taking place of that symbol, so we don't put the symbol here. I got one position missing. What's going to get filled in there? Yadesh? Very good. Variable goes here. And now solve the proportion, either using shortcuts, some mental math, or cross product. You can do cross product. I'm a little bit out of room, so I'll continue over here. And so I get 100x equals what? Isabel?
2.95.
Oh, you got the whole thing already? So it came out to 1595, and then you divide both sides by 100, and you get 15.95. Now, first I need to check, is that supposed to be a percent? Okay. No, it's not. So what is the meaning of the number? Valerie?
This is more question.
Yeah.
It asks, like, how many numbers? Is it supposed to be decimal?
Ah, so why is that strange to you? Very good. That's an outstanding high-level thought that she just had. Is that having a decimal person doesn't make any sense. You can't cut part of a person. You can't have part of a person. So what do you think this number means? What do you think would make the most sense? Chris? About 16. When you've got percents, often they are rounded a little bit, and when we round things, accuracy suffers. And so what has happened in this situation is, of course, there is not 15 and part of another person that had blood type B. It's approximately 16 people. We're not sure if it was 15 or 16, but it's approximately 16 people. Okay? Very good thought, Valerie. Excellent job. Any other comments or questions on this one? So let's continue with the same scenario and explore it from a different perspective. How many donors did not have blood type O? Yep, that's fine. And I apologize, I ran out of room. So yes, this is about or approximately 16 people. So part B, how many donors did not have blood type O? So, again, we would like to translate this into a statement that looks like this. What's different about this question compared to all the other ones we've done so far? There's one detail that's different. Michael? Yeah. And I've talked to you about the people in Tallahassee's love of the word not to try and trick you or to try and make things sound more complicated than they are. So we have to now look here and figure out who are the people who do not have blood type O. So who are the people who do not have blood type O? How can we figure that out? Danae? Very good. So what should we do with the information? Good. Did you already do it? Oh, okay. That's a great idea. So what we're looking at now, and let me get rid of this highlight quick. So now she was right. The people who are not O are all these people, and so we need to add these numbers together. But remember, these are percents, so what we're figuring out is a percent of people. Okay? Jedley? Yeah, it's 55% of the people did not have blood type O. But it doesn't ask us what percent, it asks us how many donors. So now we have to translate that percent into a number of people. So it is really a similar question to part A, but we had the additional step of having to put some information together. So Jedley and Danae helped us figure out that it is 55%. So now can someone or a few people help us put together a statement that will help us translate into math? Michaela, why don't you start us off? Go ahead. That's right. So it is actually a very similar situation. What number is 55% of 145? In fact, we've got most of the work done for us. We could just look here and just replace one piece of information. What piece of information is going to change from the first one we did? Garen? Yeah, what will it change to? Yeah, so this number is going to change. Everything else will be the same. So find the cross products, or if you can figure out a shortcut, go for it. We end up with 100x equals. Garen, you already finished it? Oh, okay. So what do we get when we do 55 times 145?
You get 7,975.
7,975. And so how many people, how many donors did not have blood type O? Gloria? About 80. I love the way you said that. It comes out to 79.75, but as we learned from the first scenario, that's approximately 80. Very good. Comments, questions, concerns on how we did this? Okay, I did have another question, but we're going to actually skip it for now, and I want to do a checkpoint. I want to see how you guys do on your own. So, the boards come back up. Same thing, you've got two questions. So you need to divide your board in half. You do not need to write checkpoint number 2. You do not need to copy the question, of course. You need to do some work, find the answer. If you have discovered a shortcut over the course of today, use the shortcut, but demonstrate how you did it on the board. And you've got two questions, you got 3 minutes. see it. Put your boards down. Do not erase until I instruct you to. So approximately 15 people, I think it was 15 people, got both of them right. That's pretty good. More than 2/3 of my class. And I think everyone got at least one question right, so that's really good. And there was a little bit of trickiness in here, but it really had to do with reading. It actually had nothing to do with math. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's get the answers. Part A, what is the actual answer for Part A? Lots of confidence for Part A. We'll start with Alex, and then we'll go to Selena.
68%.
Part A was 68%. Part B, how many members? We'll start with Paige and then Gloria. Paige. It comes out to at least 21 people. Now, Part A, as I alluded to a moment ago, as I had hinted at a moment ago, there was something tricky about the reading. What was tricky about the reading in Part A? What was tricky about the reading? Keon?
That instead of 17 being in the of place, it was actually 25 games. Because it was 25 games and then 117 of them.
That was it. And I love the way she just described that. That was the hard part. It says of them. And so you have to figure out, well, what's the them? And she just explained, the them is actually the 25 games. So what you have to do in your mind is actually rearrange the information and say to yourself, well, it's really saying 1/17 of 25. That's really what it says. And so you needed to figure out that it was really this. Comments, questions, or concerns? Good. Erase your board. This time I need you to lean it against the leg of your chair so it can be picked up. And draw a line across your paper. And your classwork is in the textbook. You're going to do page 353. You're going to do numbers 1, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, pick up your colored pens. Here we go. Number 1. And 3, 4, 5, and 6. If for any of the questions you where a percent was required, if you did not put the percent symbol, you may give yourself half a point. If you put a percent symbol when you weren't supposed to, give yourself half a point. And for any fraction that you see, if you put the decimal equivalent, that is, of course, I'm going to talk to you about number 7 because there's a number of different ways to do it. And 8 is 15.5/8% or 15.625%. So number 7 is the only one that I did not include the actual explanation. And the issue is that one of the pieces of information is in the wrong place. What's the piece of information that was put in the wrong place? Chris? Yeah, this 20 is not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be over there. And that must have messed up the entire thing. Okay? Comments, questions, concerns about any of these? Paige? Yeah, it would be about 16. You put 16%? Did you put 16% because you rounded your answer to 16%? Then you may mark it correct. Isabel? Number 5. What did you get? 900. Okay. Well, it's a matter of, again, having things in the right place. Now, you got 900, but we're looking for a percent. So did you put 900%? Okay, so now think about your answer. So that's the key part that I haven't talked enough about, and I'm going to start talking about more and more. Does the answer make sense? Now, it is possible for something to come out to 900%. Oh, 900%, we haven't really explored yet what that would mean. For example, is it possible for 900% of my students to be in the room? 900% of my students? What do you think? Kevon, you think, yes, it's possible for 900%? Well, what would that mean?
And then plus some.
Okay, so that's the interesting part. So what's the plus sum?
Okay, so usually it's just 100%.
Okay, so stop right there. Usually it's 100%. Go on.
So since that's 800%, since that's 900%, you got that 800%.
That's right. So now think of the situation that I proposed. 900% of my students are here in class. What would that look like?
Plus 800%.
Okay. And where would those students come from? Other groups? Well, so here's the thing is that we haven't explored and we will be exploring in the near future what it means to be over 100%. And it is possible for something to be 900%, but 900% of my students would mean, and he's right, it would mean 800% more, which would mean that I would need 8 more classes of this exact size to be in the room at the exact same time. And then they would also have to be my students, because I said 900% of my students. So honestly, it's not possible, because there's no way to get 900% of my students. It's possible to get 900% compared to this group, but that's why percents are a little bit tricky. So again, you have to think of the scenario. the point that he is making that's most important is that 900% is much more than 100%. And so if you look at the numbers that are in question number 5, would it make sense for 900% to be the answer? Really doesn't fit. So it's really just a matter of putting things in the right place. So let me survey the class. Give me a thumbs up if you got number 5 correct. Okay, Ezekiel, put something in the right place for me.
Alright, 27 in the top left.
27's in the top left. Gloria, give me another piece of information. 30 underneath the 27. Missing number. Okay? Does that answer your question, Isabel? Okay. Any other comments or questions? We are going to talk more about percents over 100. Your homework is page 353. You're going to do numbers 10 through 24 even. Some of the questions have more than one part, so when you add up all the parts, it comes out to 12 questions. We will have a quiz next week. I will talk more about it at the end of this week.